Well, welcome everybody to the regular City of Bellevue Council meeting for May 10th, 2021. Clerk, can you please do the roll?
Mayor Robinson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nieuwenhuis.
Here.
Councilmember Barksdale.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson.
Here.
Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
And Councilmember Zahn.
Here.
Thank you.
Councilmember Robertson, can you please lead us in the flag salute?
Certainly. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag,
to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic,
and to the republic
For which
which
stands
stands
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty and
justice
justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have three proclamations tonight. The first one is for housing. Councilmember Barksdale, would you please read that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Whereas all people should have access to safe, healthy, and affordable homes within communities of opportunity. And whereas everyone benefits from affordable housing, including residents, workers, employers, and the community as a whole. And whereas 320 Bellevue School District students were identified as experiencing homelessness in 2020, and 7,520 Bellevue families are housing insecure, spending more than half their income on housing. And whereas the 2020 point in time count found 6,228 people in King County, including 446 on the east side, sleeping outdoors without shelter. And whereas even as the number of people experiencing homelessness remains at crisis levels, the COVID-19 pandemic has increased the financial challenges facing moderate and low income households. And whereas advocates identify affordable housing as a critical component of making homelessness rare, brief, and one time. And whereas communities throughout King County are participating in Affordable Housing Week to raise public awareness about the critical need to preserve and increase affordable housing in our communities. And whereas the City of Bellevue endorses the goals, objectives, and purposes of Affordable Housing Week, and remains committed to ensuring that all people in our community live with dignity in safe, healthy, and affordable homes. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Lynn Robinson, Mayor of the City of Bellevue, Washington, and on behalf of its City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9th through 15th, 2021 as Affordable Housing Week in Bellevue, and encourage residents to join in support.
Thank you. Our next one is National Nurses Week. Deputy Mayor Nieuwenhuis, would you read that, please?
certainly as the son of a nurse, it would certainly be my honor to do so. Whereas nursing is the nation's largest healthcare profession with more than 4 million registered nurses nationwide, and whereas with more than 3 times as many RNs in the United States as physicians, nursing delivers a wide range of healthcare services, including primary, preventative, and specialty care in areas such as pediatrics, gerontological care, oncology, neurological, obstetricity, OBGYN nursing. And whereas an expansive depth and breadth of the nursing profession is required to meet the different and emerging healthcare needs of the American population in a wide range of settings. And whereas nurses are frontline responders to COVID-19 patients, providing critical treatment and care at the risk of their own health and safety. And whereas over the past year, nurses have faced limitations on supplies, including personal protective equipment, and have played a major role in interacting with the families of patients. And whereas May 12th is the birthday of Florence Nightingale, the founder of modern nursing. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Lynn Robinson, Mayor of the City of Bellevue, Washington, and on behalf of its City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 6th through the 12th, 2021 as National Nurses Week in Bellevue, and encourage all residents to celebrate Nurses Week by recognizing the contributions of the variety of nurses in our communities, particularly as they continue to battle the COVID-19 pandemic and provide supportive and life-saving care to all patients.
Great, thank you. And then Councilmember Stokes, would you please read the National Police Week proclamation? I'm afraid you're still muted, Councilmember Stokes.
Sorry.
There you go. Oops. Councilmember Stokes, something's happening. We can't hear you. Now I can't see you.
I don't know why it happened. I'm sorry. I don't know.
It's all right. I can hear you now, though.
Okay, good. City of Bellevue proclamation. Whereas there are approximately 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Bellevue Police Department. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1791, nearly 22,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas 394 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 295 of those 182 fatalities are COVID-19 related. Officers were killed in 2020 and 99 officers killed in previous years. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund 23rd Annual Candlelight Vigil on May 13th. And whereas law enforcement officers are a vital part of our community, standing ready to deal with emergencies and risk their own safety and health to protect us every day. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half staff. And whereas law enforcement officers continue to diligently perform essential work on the front lines alongside dedicated first responders and healthcare workers to respond to the current public health emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Lynn Robinson, Mayor of the City of Bellevue, Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th, 15th, 2021 as National Police Week in Bellevue, and encourage all residents and businesses to recognize and express appreciation for our law enforcement officers for their honorable profession in public service to us all, especially as they respond to the current public health emergency and strive to assist everyone in our diverse communities while on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Great. Thank you very much. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. City Clerk, could you, do we have anybody signed up for oral communications tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There are 2 pre-registered speakers this evening for oral communications. And the first speaker is Christopher Randalls. And Mr. Randalls, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just getting my computer off full screen and I am ready to go.
Thank you. Your time begins now.
All right. Good evening, council members. Private citizen Chris Randalls here, 2501 148th Avenue Southeast, apartment C5. And that's actually a new address for me as I just moved in with my non-binary partner after a year and a half together, and we're really excited to start building our life together here in Bellevue. As a queer man, I've always felt welcome to my 6.5 years in this city. I feel like the city and its leadership consistently stand with the LGBTQ community. And Bellevue is a place where I'm free to be myself and show love for my partner without being harassed or persecuted. But some information about an upcoming event in Bellevue has me concerned that some of our city's law enforcement officers will choose to not stand with our city's queer community. Tomorrow evening, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association will be hosting a law enforcement appreciation dinner in Bellevue's downtown, intended as a show of support for our region's officers. However, this organization and event is led by homophobic pastor Franklin Graham. To list just a few of his and his organization's many sins against the queer community, he has publicly disparaged queer politicians for their homosexuality, praised Putin for Russia's draconian anti-gay laws, prohibited gay people from volunteering for his nonprofits, and publicly supported the harmful practice of gay conversion therapy. Although Graham, who has actively been involved in the promotion of this event, has recently claimed that he is not anti-gay and that people of all backgrounds and sexualities will be welcome during the evening, these comments ring hollow given the plethora and recency of his documented disdain for the queer community and those like me. Other cities have rightly seen through this facade and have formally rejected the organization's invitation, and I strongly urge you to do the same this evening. Although BPD claims that it has not been formally invited, Mr. Graham has publicly stated to local media outlets that he is hoping for officers from smaller jurisdictions in the Puget Sound area, such as Bellevue, to attend. I am fearful that some BPD officers will choose to attend and thus support an organization that does not stand with our LGBTQ community, does not stand with me and my right to love my partner. I would like to acknowledge that this is not meant as an example of cancel culture gone amok, as I am not asking for this event to be canceled. I want private citizens to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights in attending, just as those of us in the queer community who plan to peacefully protest the event intend to do. However, I'm asking that the city use its platform and that BPD devote resources to stand with our LGBTQ community and stand against these abhorrent views by publicly denouncing this event, Mr. Graham, and the BGEA, and discourage officers and public officials from attending. I understand the irony of asking council to denounce an event showing support for law enforcement immediately after this body passed a resolution declaring this week National Police Week. But I would only offer that it is possible for one to support officers and their work in other ways that do not actively turn one's back on our city's queer community. If our city and police department remain silent while this event happens in our own downtown, we are giving tacit permission for Mr. Graham's and BGEA's beliefs to proliferate in our community. I urge the council and BPD to stand by our city's message of hate has no home here by flatly rejecting this organization and what it stands for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Randalls. The next speaker this evening is Barbara Chevalier. And Ms. Chevalier, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Your time begins now.
Great, thank you so much. So good evening, everybody. My name is Barbara Chevalier. I live in Newport Hills, and I'm commenting tonight as a resident, a mother, a co-founder of 300 Trees, a local nonprofit dedicated to planting trees. And my comments are about the council vision and 2021 to 2023 priorities that will be discussed later in tonight's agenda. And first, I want to say that both documents are really impressive. I appreciate that Bellevue is committed to building an even better community. And I believe that the city has done a really good job in doing more to partner not only with businesses, but with citizens to really understand what residents and employers want and need, both now and in the future. The vision and priorities are expansive, they're ambitious, they contain a lot of bold and appropriate content. But of course, there is room for improvement. And my biggest point of critique is that both documents could be stronger and Bellevue could be even more successful in the future if the vision and priorities were made more of if they took a more whole of government approach, particularly to the issue of addressing climate change, which I would argue is the most pressing issue of our time, because if we don't solve it, we are all in a world of hurt. When I'd like to point you, for example, to the whole of government approach that the Biden administration is using, it captures really two basic truths that are the core of their whole of government plan. One, the United States urgently needs to embrace greater ambition on really an epic scale to meet the scope of our global climate change. And it acknowledges that our environment and our economy are utterly integrated, right? They're totally connected to each other. And I believe that the whole of government approach is the right and indeed patriotic approach that every town, city, every state government needs to embrace if we're really going to meet this, this looming challenge head on. And I believe that Bellevue needs a whole of government approach that really points us in a direction and toward a future where we can all live and thrive. So I respectfully request that Bellevue edit both documents to reflect that whole of government approach. By that, I mean to have a clear, concise vision statement that every strategy and priority tie to, and then have every department, every project, every action taken in service to that vision. Bellevue's vision for addressing climate change should be overarching and include the following broad goals: reducing carbon emissions by 50% by 2030, 100% clean energy economy and net zero emissions no later than 2050, and really working to ensure economic opportunities, good jobs, and environmental justice for all residents. I believe that we can continue to make Bellevue a great place to work and live for us and for future generations. And I thank you for your efforts in that direction.
Thank you, Ms. Chevalier. And that ends the pre-registered list for oral communications. At this point, I would ask if there is anyone connected to this call who would like to make oral communication to the council. If so, please use the raise hand function in Zoom or *9 if you're connected with a phone. And Mayor, I do not see any additional hands raised, so that will close oral communications.
Okay, thank you very much. City Manager, I wonder if we could have Chief Milet respond to Mr. Randall's comments.
Sure, Mayor. Steve, are you on the line here?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, could you respond to some of the comments that we heard from Mr. Randall's with respect to the LGBTQ community and the event tomorrow night?
Certainly. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. I listened intently to Mr. Randall's comments, and one of the, I guess the message that we want to send is that we stand united with our LGBTQI community, as we always have. Our role as the police department for the city of Bellevue is to stay neutral in matters, and our focus is public safety, everybody's public safety. Our track record, like I said, is very strong, standing united with the LGBTQI community, and we will continue to do so. And I appreciate Mr. Randall's concerns and his comments, and I do agree that there's different ways to support law enforcement, as he pointed out. So I appreciate the opportunity to share that information.
Thank you for that. And that's a great entry to our next report of the city manager, where he will report to us on the Hate Has No Home Here campaign. So Mr. Miyake.
Yes. So good evening, Mayor and council members. I have one item to report under the city manager's report this evening. Tonight, the staff will be presenting an informational update regarding the city's Hate Has No Home Here campaign, which was actually launched on April 5th as part of the council's proclamation on condemning discrimination, hate, and violence against our API community. So joining us this evening with the update is Elaine Acasio, who is our Diversity and Inclusion Program Administrator. With that, I'm going to turn over to Elaine. Are you here, Elaine? I'm looking for you.
I am. Hello. Okay, good evening, everybody.
Great. Thanks.
So good evening, Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor New, and Housing Council members. In my brief time with you tonight, I wanted to give you an update on the Hate Has No Home Here initiative that the city launched earlier in April. This launch, as City Manager Miyake commented, was a commitment that extended from Council's proclamation condemning anti-Asian hate and violence, and the promise of work that was to come. And so Hate Has No Home Here has certainly struck a chord in our community and in our region. Bellevue received multiple media coverage on this topic, but more importantly, we have received a handful of affirmations from residents, staff, the business community, community organizations, and many of our peers in local government, and who are also interested in replicating this in their city. In fact, this very same evening, another city is presenting a Hate Has No Home Here campaign at their council meeting. And so we've received requests from Olympia to the state of Michigan of folks wanting to be a part of the Hate Has No Home Here campaign. In one of Bellevue School District's Family Connection Centers, I wanted to share a story that a BSC staff member recounted, a moment of a mom showing her child the Hate Has No Home Here sign and proudly pointing to her native language. This was obviously important for her that BSD was standing behind such a movement. And as a parent myself, I'll say that when I dropped off a middle schooler at Tilica Middle School just last week and saw the banner draped at the entrance of the school, it was a pretty emotional moment for me. So while the uptick in violent and hateful incidences against the Asian Pacific Islander community was what spurred this initiative, we wanted to make sure that the campaign provided a safeguard for all people, and that this is not a simple anti-hate campaign that is providing signs of affirmation across the city. While that is certainly important, this campaign is much more about signs, and certainly we hope it is deeper than the performative acts of solidarity. This is about a joint community response from across different industries that provides diverse tools, as well as an array of opportunities for folks to get involved. So just as a quick recap, in the month of April, some of the deliverables of the project, including some coordination with the Bellevue Downtown Association in displaying the Hate Has No Home flags throughout the downtown corridor. Additionally, the Chamber of Commerce was very supportive in decal and sticker distribution for placement on business windows. And we also worked with the King County Library Systems, neighborhood outreach, the Bellevue School District, as well as community volunteers from Indivisible East Side in the distribution of over 1,000 yard signs. At the beginning of May, which was also Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we aired the community and crowdsourced video of students and residents talking about the vision of inclusion and racial healing. If you haven't had a chance to see that, that is up on our website. Additional submissions of the video are welcome from anyone in the community, and we have posted directions on how to participate. That's also found in the webpage. Additionally, the city hosted a cultural conversations event that featured a panel of speakers from the Asian community talking about the power of voice. So now work is underway, specifically with the Bellevue School District, on developing an educational component to Hate Has No Home Here. Additionally, conversations with businesses have informed us of interests around collective training and dialogue around racism and coalition building. And in June, the city will be presenting at the Sound Cities Association meeting to talk and share about this project. And certainly there are numerous potential avenues to expand the impact of this work. And, we are working tirelessly to make sure that we're responding to community needs and ideas. This project truly resonated with so many due to its timeliness, its importance, but also because there are various ways to get involved and connected. So again, thank you for this opportunity to share about this and supporting the staff that have helped shepherd this work. And of course, the many community education and business partners who have participated in so many aspects of this project from beginning to end.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Mayor, I have no other city manager report items.
Okay, well, thank you. That's great. And I know the council stands solidly behind this campaign, and as do staff and our emergency services. So thank you for that good work. Next, we have a council initiative. Mr. Miyake, would you like to introduce this?
Sure, Mayor and council members. This is with regard to your council, your 2021 to 23 council vision and priorities. Just by way of background, in front of you this evening in your package for final approval is the updated council vision as developed by the council at retreat sessions in late February and early April. In addition, the council updated its 3-year priorities in the same process. Tonight, we are seeking council action to approve the updated council vision and related 3-year priorities. And that is my staff report tonight. Now I turn it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, I just want to thank the council and the staff for all the hard work in pulling together these 2 retreat times. It happened, people had to take time off their regular work days to attend these, and staff had to work around all the COVID challenges to get a facilitator and to get staffing and pull it all together. And they did a great job. I'm really pleased with the work. Council has had a chance to look at this final version and to weigh in. We had 2 retreats to work on this. And I know that there is one council member who would like to make an amendment, and there may be others. So first, we're going to just do a motion to adopt as is. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the council's vision, strategic target areas, and 2021-23 priorities as presented this evening.
Second.
Okay. And then I'm going to open this up for discussion. I know Councilmember Lee would like to say something. Is there anybody else who has anything they'd like to offer right now? Not seeing anybody. Councilmember Lee, you go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I certainly strongly support the staff's work and the council's work toward this initiative. I commend everybody's hard work. And however, I'd like to move to amend priority number 15 to add the words and complete the cross-culture study already underway to the end of the sentence.
Okay. So that's your amendment. Is there a motion to adopt Councilmember Lee's amendment?
I move to adopt Councilmember Lee's amendment.
Is there a second? Okay. So all those in favor of adopting Councilmember Lee's amendment, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. And so now we can vote on the amended document. Is there, so all those in favor of approving this amended, Councilmember Robertson.
Thanks. I just wanted to double check that the typographical error where it says west instead of east is fixed. And then I just noticed as I was sitting here today that there's at least one bell read with a hyphen.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the first is a Scrivener's error that we can correct without bringing it up because we've already let staff know. But the bell read,
I know
the spellings,
No hyphen.
we need to correct those as well.
We'll make,
So,
yeah, we'll make sure we correct them.
yeah, let's go over
Thank
it
you for
with
bringing
a
that to our
fine-tooth
attention.
comb for grammatical errors.
Thanks.
Okay, great. So all those in favor of adopting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, excellent. Good work, everybody. All right, we're on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Sorry, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We're on to a public hearing here. We have two public hearings. Mr. Miyake, would you like to introduce the first one?
Yes, Mayor and council members, the first public hearing and action is on an ordinance authorizing the execution of the development agreement, a development agreement to enable the mixed-use Crossroads multifamily project in Planning District E of this Crossroads sub-area. As directed by council on April 12th, was to hold this public hearing to solicit input on this finalized development agreement. Following the public hearing, council is asked to adopt the ordinance authorizing execution of the development agreement to enable the Crossroads multifamily project, which is a mixed-use multifamily development in the Crossroads sub-area. Joining us this evening is Mike Brennan, Director of Development Services Department, as well as Trisna Tanis, the consulting attorney, and Mac McFarland, Assistant City Attorney in the City Attorney's Office. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Miyake. Good evening, Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor Neuenhuis, and members of the council. As Mr. Miyake mentioned, we have two development agreements before the council this evening related to the Terranomics Crossroads multifamily project. This was initially introduced to the council back in January. This is for a 224 unit multifamily project that is proposed as part of the Crossroads shopping center. And when it originally came to the council, the development agreement did not include affordable housing, but the council did see an opportunity to expand the affordable housing in the city and asked staff to go back and work with the developer and property owner Terranomics to explore opportunities to add that function within this project, so affordable housing. We worked collaboratively with Terranomics and were able to accomplish that, and that is included in the development agreement this evening. I want to just extend appreciation to the team from Terranomics to very much working collaboratively with the staff team to come up with a solution that not only delivered on what the council had directed in adding affordable housing, but also maintained a viable project that could proceed forward. So the first public hearing this evening is on the development agreement. At conclusion of the staff report, we will be asking the council to act on the ordinance that authorizes the execution of the development agreement. And then we will follow with the second public hearing related to inclusion of the multifamily tax exemption option. So for the first public hearing, I will hand it over to Trisna Tanis, consulting attorney for the staff report. Trisna.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, and those attending tonight. And just to clarify, I'll be presenting the staff report for the public hearing for the development agreement, and there'll be a second public hearing, not two development agreements, just two public hearings.
Thank you.
So for staff's presentation, we'll begin by briefly explaining the Crossroads multifamily project, explain why a development agreement is necessary for this project, go through really quickly the public benefits that are being provided, including the affordable housing enhanced public benefit, and then the public process that we followed for this development agreement. So as Mike noted, the Crossroads multifamily project is a 6-story mixed-use building with 224 residential units, 14,500 square foot ground level retail, and a parking garage with 253 stalls. We are processing an application for design review for this project, and this project does require a development agreement per the land use code, because the project site is located in Crossroads Planning District E, which without a development agreement, multifamily development would not be allowed at this location. So in turn, there are several comprehensive plan policies that call for the multifamily development to be of high quality, to avoid conflicts with commercial uses, to be complementary to both commercial and residential uses, and to provide for certain public benefits. These public benefits include connections to the Crossroads Park and Community Center, as well as open space and other pedestrian improvements, these benefits are illustrated in the graphics that you see, which is figure C, SCR2 in the Crossroads sub-area plan. Additionally, we are here tonight because per the Growth Management Act and the RCW, a public hearing is required prior to approving a development agreement. This is the project site plan. As you can see, an open space is provided just north of the proposed building or to the left side. As shown in the image, there's a park interface area that connects the project site with the park next door. There's a mid-block connector or urban trail to the right next to Michael's, and pedestrian improvements. In addition, consistent with council's direction, the project will also include affordable units as enhanced public benefit. There will be a minimum of 20% of all units at 80% AMI or below, and any unit that is 300 square feet or less at 45% AMI or below. These units will remain affordable for the maximum duration that the MFDE program is available to the project. And in exchange for providing these affordable units, the city will include the project site in the MFDE program. This is the separate and second public hearing tonight. To recap, the city noticed this project in January 2019. We did renotice the application to include the development agreement early this year on January 7th. Council held the first study session on January 25th. And then as noted earlier, on April 12th, Council held the second study session to consider the updated development agreement that included the affordable housing enhanced public benefit. We are, of course, here tonight for the public hearings on the development agreement, as well as the MFDE designation for the project site. So with that, that concludes our staff report. We are available to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. We will go ahead and hold the public hearing, listen to any public comments that we may have, and then have a discussion and decide whether to adopt this ordinance or not. So is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, City Clerk, are there any comments from the public?
Thank you, Mayor. There is one person signed up for this public hearing, but before we get to that, I would like to mention that based on the public hearing notice for tonight's hearing, the council did receive written comments from 2 separate individuals, and those written comments are included in your desk packet from tonight. With that, I will call the first and only registered speaker, and that is Jessica Clausen. Ms. Clausen, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Your time begins now.
Great. Hi, Council. It's Jessie Clausen from McCullough Hill Larry. We're the land use attorneys for Terranomics, the proponent for this project. And what a good way to kick off Affordable Housing Week with this project. I want to extend mutual appreciation to staff for working with us and council to get to, I think, a really creative solution where we can provide affordable housing, obtain the MFTE benefit, and then also provide these other public benefits for this project. So, you know, this is just the classic infill development that I think the City of Bellevue's policies are looking for. No more surface parking lots. Let's do something a little bit better with that land. And we just thank council and staff for working with us. We'll be on the call continually. If you have any questions for us, I believe Chris Cole from Terranomics, he might be signed up for the next public hearing. He will be available for questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clausen. And that is the end of our pre-registered list. So at this point, if there is anyone else connected to this meeting who would like to make a comment during this public hearing on the development agreement, please use the raise hand function or *9 if you're connected with a phone. And Mayor, I do not see any additional hands.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Is there any discussion or comments? I can see you. So if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. Councilmember Robertson, I believe I saw your hand.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I'm very supportive. I don't have any questions. I think that this development agreement is great. It provides a lot of public benefit with regard to the open space, the connectivity, and the affordable housing. And I am very much in favor of adopting it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think this is a great way to start Affordable Housing Week. So, Councilmember Zahn, did you want to say something or?
Oh, no, I was just ready to vote.
Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Oh, did we have a motion to adopt? I think I did, right?
We did not, Mayor. We did not have a formal motion, but.
Did we have one at the beginning?
We did not. We just opened and closed the public hearing.
Let's have a motion.
Okay.
Let's have a motion to adopt ordinance 6576.
I move to adopt ordinance 6576, authorizing execution of the development agreement pursuant to the provisions of chapter 36.70B RCW to enable the mixed-use Crossroads multifamily project in Planning District E at the Crossroads subarea.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, we have another public hearing on ordinance 6577. Mr. Miyake, would you like to introduce that?
Yes, Mayor and council members, this is the second public hearing with regard to this particular project that was referenced by Mike Brennan. It is an ordinance designating the Crossroads multifamily project site, which is a 7.5 acre area in Planning District E of the Crossroads subarea, be included as a residential targeted area for eligibility in the city's multifamily housing property tax exemption program. So with that, I'm turning it over to Mike for further introduction and presentation. And I know he has some staff members joining him as well. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Miyake. Not much to add. I think what I'll do is ask Matt McFarland, Assistant City Attorney, to walk through the staff report. Again, we will be asking for the council to act on this ordinance authorizing the expansion of the multifamily tax exemption program to this property for its inclusion in the development agreement. So Matt, if you want to proceed.
Thank you, Mike. So as we explained at the last study session, the inclusion of the project site for the property that's subject to the DA into the city's MFTE program is part of the development agreement and the consideration that the city is providing in exchange for the affordable housing that council requested. So under the MFTE statute, both our local statute and the state statute, the city is required to hold a public hearing in order to include this project site in the city's local MFTE program. So the action that we're requesting from council is to hold the public hearing, and then following the public hearing, move to adopt Ordinance 6577, which would include the project site in the MFTE program. Next slide, please, Trisna. So the brief agenda here is another overview of the multifamily project, which is the project site that would be included in the MFTE program. A brief overview of the MFTE designation, the affordable housing enhanced public benefits that council has requested and that the applicant has agreed to provide, and then a quick summary of the public process that brought us here. Next slide. So you may recognize this slide from the previous public hearing. This is a depiction of the project. And as City Manager Miyake pointed out, this is the 7.5 acre project site in Planning District D of the Crossroads sub area that would be included in the MFTE program after council takes action. Next slide, please. So under the city's MFTE program, the council may include this specific project site or any other properties the council deems available to be included as a residential targeted area in the MFTE program, as long as those sites meet the criteria of BCC 4452030, which is our local MFTE code provisions. As I mentioned at the outset, a public hearing is required before council designates residential target areas for the MFTE program. Next slide. So I would like to echo Ms. Clausen's comments and also what Mike said at the beginning. This was a collaborative process. As I mentioned at the last study session, this was not an adversarial process at all. I really want to compliment the applicant for working with the city, both city staff and with the direction that council provided in order to provide the affordable units that are going to be included consistent with the DA with this project. Once again, the affordability is for the maximum amount of time that is available under the MFTE code now or as hereafter amended, consistent with the terms of the DA that council just approved. And then, as I mentioned at the outset as well, which I think council is well aware of, in exchange for the applicant cooperating with the city to provide the affordable units, the city is agreeing to include the project site in the MFTE program because the project site is not currently included in that program. Next slide, please. So this is the brief timeline of the public process. It was the study session 1 on January 25th when council initially requested the enhanced public benefit in connection to the DA, that's the affordable housing. And during that interim time period over a couple of months, that's when we negotiated with the applicant and then brought it back to council with the proposal that's in front of council tonight, both with the finalized DA and also this agreement to include it in the MFTE program. And council just had the statutorily required public hearing on the DA. This is largely procedural for council to now hold the public hearing and then include the project site in the MFTE program. Next slide. So once again, as the staff is requesting the council hold the public hearing and following the public hearing, adopt the ordinance that would include the project site in the MFTE program consistent with the terms of the development agreement that council just approved. And we, Mike and Tristan and I will certainly be available after the public hearing if there are any questions or concerns from council. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for the presentation. So let's go ahead and move to open the public hearing.
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? City Clerk, are there any comments from public?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There is one individual signed up, and with that, I will call his name, and it is Chris Cole. Mr. Cole, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you. Your time begins now.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. My name is Chris Cole, and I'm here on behalf of the Crossroads Shopping Center. I want to thank you so much for approving the development agreement this evening. We're so grateful to you for being open to extending the MFTE zone into our project site. Crossroads has always been an area that's been open to the public and inclusive, and we're excited about the prospect of having affordable housing at the Crossroads Shopping Center. We'd like to thank Mike, Matt, Tristan, and Sally for collaborating with us on the development agreement, and also the Parks Department for meeting us out at the site and working on the programming for the park. Our team's very excited about the extension of the park into the Crossroads Shopping Center, as that's also part of the public benefit. We're truly thankful for our longstanding relationship with the City of Bellevue, and we're here to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. And that is the end of our pre-registered list for this public hearing. If there is anyone else connected to this meeting who would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function or *9 if you're connected with a phone. And Mayor, I do not see any additional hands.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
About to sneeze. Excuse me. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So is there any comments or questions on this? I'm not seeing anybody. Councilmember Lee, I see you.
Thank you. I have a quick comment. I think this is a great project. I believe that Crossroads has been a very vibrant place since day one. One of the first real diverse multifamily center in the city of Bellevue. It's always remained a model where there's a lot of diversity, vibrancy. And so I think that it's great, especially now with the community center, Bellevue Theater, and all the international park all close by, and nonprofits. And so it is a great addition. The one thing, of course, which I think some of us, including me, raised a little bit of concern, is the parking. When we provide so many multifamily units, many people living there, whether the parking, it may be affected for the general public who visit the Crossroads Mall and the shop and various other things. But I think the staff has addressed that very adequately. And so I believe that as long as we are aware and be able to manage the situation, that does not adversely affect the current situation, and even moving forward, hopefully will be something we have anticipated. So I believe because of the staff's diligence, I'm satisfied. This is going to be a great project, as long as some of the concerns that I specifically mentioned it's addressed. Thank you. So I support it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, is there a motion to adopt Ordinance 6577?
I move to adopt Ordinance 6577, designating the Crossroads multifamily project site, a 7.5 acre area on Planning District E of the Crossroads sub-area, as a residential targeted area for eligibility in the city's multifamily housing property tax exemption program.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, that's good news. Okay, we're going to take a break until 7 o'clock. Come back and we will be able to finish up. We are now on to our study session items. And before we start with the first one, I've been informed that this is Scott McDonald's last meeting with our city. And I just want to thank him for his 9 years of service to the city. Scott, I think you started with City of Bellevue after you graduated from the Rhode Island School of Design. And before that, you got a degree in environmental studies. You worked on some really important projects at the city, including the Eastgate and Factoria development and our public arts program. And I just, I think in your first 8 years with the city, you were associate planner for arts and urban design. And I just think that having an artist work with our infrastructure is amazing. And somebody of your skill set combined has just been a gift to our city. You are what makes Bellevue a really remarkable place. So I just want to thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Miyake, would you like to introduce our study session item?
Sure, Mayor. You have two study session topics this evening. The first one is on the arts and cultural program update. Just by way of background, the arts and culture program is a component of the Cultural and Economic Development Office, which administers multiple programs that supports Bellevue's creative and diverse community. Tonight, this briefing will highlight initiatives the arts and culture program are currently working on, plus what's on the horizon. Key components of this step will include progress on the Bel-Red Arts District, as well as cultural tourism and the city's annual arts grants and public art programs. This is an informational update to you. No formal direction is being asked of the council this evening. And joining us this evening is Jesse Canedo, our Chief Economic Development Officer, as well as Scott McDonald, the Arts and Community Manager, for a presentation this evening. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Jesse.
Thank you, City Manager Miyake. Good evening, Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor Newhouse, and members of council. We are looking forward to tonight's presentation, even though it will be Scott's last presentation with us. This will be the first of going forward twice annual updates on the arts and culture program here at the city. So tonight we'll be giving a bit more of a comprehensive flyover, so that way the council gets a good grounding on all of the different elements within the arts and culture program. And then going forward, we'll make sure that those presentations are a bit more tailored and timely. But tonight we felt it was very important that we give a comprehensive flyover. Next slide, Scott. And as the city manager mentioned, tonight's presentation is just for informational reasons only, and no direction is being requested tonight. It does come on the heels of last week's East Hub presentation, which hopefully will flow very nicely into the topics we're talking about tonight. So with that, Scott, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and the council for having us here tonight. As mentioned, my name is Scott McDonald, and I am the Arts Community Manager for the city. Tonight, we will start with a quick program summary, including an overview of our broader initiatives we're working on, and then get into some of the details of the annual Arts Grants Program and the public art programs, before finishing up with what's next for the future. The Arts and Culture Program has a large body of work that we utilize to serve our community. These are things like our annual Arts Grants Program, public art projects, Bellwether, our Contemporary Art Festival, capacity and partnership building work, as you heard a little bit last week with East Hub, and then working to visibly establish the Bel-Red Arts District. We also do cultural planning work, such as supporting the Grand Connection and other major city initiatives, as well as the eventual update of the Cultural Compass. And then just a note, we also support the Arts Commission. Over the last year, the pandemic has highlighted the ways our cultural community is both resilient, but also areas where we need to improve. The pandemic has caused massive losses in revenue and employment in the arts. We've all heard that. It has also pulled the community together as they realize that working together makes us stronger. And we've seen we have a lot of examples of that are happening out in the community. The same goes for advancement of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The social rest over the past year has pushed many organizations to look inward and seek ways where they can improve access and equity in their work, while seeking to better serve the underserved communities in Bellevue and across the East Side. And we are taking a similar approach to our programs, looking for ways where we can improve and applying an equity lens in particular to the work that we do. A good example of that is a review that's starting to get underway of our arts grants programs, where we're
looking at the entire process from how we promote the program, promote the grants, to specific questions, and if there's ways where we can simplify language and remove any kind of barriers for folks. Excuse me. Bellevue clearly remains the East Side's destination for arts and culture. Last year, we surveyed East Side arts audiences and found that 82% of the respondents attended arts and cultural events or took a class in Bellevue. This beat out Seattle and all other East Side cities. It showed that the arts are happening here, and we still see that happening post-pandemic, or hopefully post-pandemic. In Bellevue, we were also lucky to have organizations developing and adapting programs for the whole community and adapting as our community continues to change. Our blend of dance, theater, and visual and performing arts on top of the rich cultural traditions present in our community is our niche and our advantage. And while the pandemic has created many challenges, the shift to online venues has allowed many organizations, particularly diverse organizations, to expand their audience 3 or 4 times beyond the numbers that live events have drawn in the past. And they're also seeing people from all over the world tune in, which could be a result of many community members' ties from around the globe. The Economic Development Plan includes focus areas on the creative economy and tourism among its other strategies. For the creative economy, establishment of the Bel-Red Arts District as a regional destination for the arts is a key strategy. This is an important part of our work. And how are we supporting this? First, we make art more visible. This could be through our public art projects or eventually through public programming, wayfinding, and other elements. And as an example, coming this summer to Bel-Red are 15 utility box art wraps. Plus, you will see an update tonight on 2 exciting public art projects. Second, we are focusing on capacity building work that recognizes that the Arts District needs community buy-in and that the city can't do this on its own. For this, we are planning to work to galvanize a community group focused on advocating and establishing the Arts District. We plan to use the process of developing an Arts District action plan as a seed for the growth of that group. And third, since redevelopment of Bel-Red is happening rapidly, we are working to orient development towards arts and cultural uses. A great example of this is an upcoming project called an Arts Market Survey that will survey the space and facility needs of artists and nonprofit arts and cultural organizations. In communities like Everett, this work led to the nonprofit development of the Shack Arts Center, which includes 40 artist affordable housing units, office and community spaces, artist studios, as well as a community gallery space. Also, an example of where this work can lead. In Olympia, where this data led to 2 private developers that are planning to build projects with a mix of artist affordable housing, work studios, and performance spaces. We see the work around development of affordable space as a diversity, equity, and inclusion issue. While affordability impacts all parts of the arts and cultural community and also the broader community of Bellevue, affordability hits less established and often more diverse organizations especially hard. Oops. Okay. For cultural tourism, we see Bellevue's advantage as the diversity of our cultural organizations and our connection with technology industries, potentially resulting in a cultural tourism sector that could be a strong economic driver in Bellevue. In fact, a recent study by Americans for the Arts found that 68% of travelers attended an arts and cultural event while on their trip. A similar study showed that 55% of all travelers traveled specifically for an arts and cultural event. This shows that there is a connection between the cultural work we do and tourism, and we see that that is a great opportunity for Bellevue. As part of this work supporting cultural tourism, we have been advising Visit Bellevue, working to grow awareness of Bellwether, administering our annual grants for arts and cultural events, which could be a big driver of this kind of work, and also working to create dynamic public spaces with our public art projects. Moving into our specific programs, our annual grants program administers roughly 45 grants per year across 3 different programs. These are the Eastside Arts Partnership, Special Projects, and Power Up grants. They specifically support community access to arts and cultural experiences. And as an example, in 2020, they provided over 87,000 free or reduced tickets to Bellevue's community. And these are programs like Village Theater's Pied Piper educational program that takes place in Bellevue schools, the Asian American Performing Arts Theater's Chinese Lunar New Year Festival, and Tasphere's South Asian Film Festival, among many others. And not only do these events provide access to the community, but they also support local businesses. Thinking about cultural tourism, non-local attendees of arts and cultural events spend an average of $47 in addition to the cost of their ticket at local businesses, compared to $23 spent by local attendees in addition to the ticket price. 2020 was a hard year for artists, nonprofits, and our local businesses for sure. Virtual events, while they have driven bigger audiences, many of these events are very low cost and don't provide a lot of benefit for the organizations themselves in terms of revenue, but they also don't provide the ancillary spending benefits that in-persons do for our local businesses. We expect that to start to pick up later this year and return to some semblance of normal next year. These grants, many funding online events currently, are important bridges for organizations to stay connected with our artists and their audiences and potentially grow their reach until larger in-person events can take place. As one recent survey respondent wrote, the arts have been a lifeline, and we have heard a lot of statements from organizations about these, similar statements from organizations about these grants. At a high level, the public art program is largely focused on community access to art, placemaking, and growing Bellevue's creative brand. The city's collection includes over 100 fixed and portable artworks. And historically, the collection has not been fully representative of our community. This is changing through the intentional work of connecting artists of color with upcoming opportunities, having more diverse artist and artwork selection panels as our community becomes more diverse, and making it clear materials that diverse artists are encouraged to apply. While artists in the collection are becoming more representative of our demographics, the artworks themselves also exemplify the community's expression and celebrate unique qualities of our city. This is done by engaging the community in artist selection, facilitating artist meetings directly with community members, and encouraging artists to go much deeper into a place's story as they create their artworks. Project-wise, the public art program takes on a myriad of projects with differing scales and many different desired outcomes. A project that is currently in development is the 130th Streetscape Public Art Project by artist Po-Shu Wang out in Belgrade. This will be at the intersection of Spring Boulevard and 130th near the light rail station. The form and also the experience of the artwork are highly inspired by the wealth of music that is happening in Belgrade, and this really is the music businesses, the artists that are out there practicing their craft, organizations, as well as all the people teaching, providing lessons out in Belgrade. There's a lot of music. As a pedestrian approaches the artwork, a sensor is triggered and they will be enveloped in a soft sound bath created from layers of recordings of Belgrade musicians. And the fabrication and installation budget for this contract, for the council's awareness, is at $160,000 plus sales tax. Also in Belgrade, artist Jill Anhol is developing a concept for an artwork to be located at 121st and Spring Boulevard. This artwork, while still in very early development, takes an extrapolated elevation of the original BNSF route and turns it into an archway the artist is calling cut and fill. The fabrication and installation budget for this contract is roughly $190,000 plus sales tax. It's good to note for the council that this proposal is considered to be in a pre-conceptual development phase, and the form could change as the project continues to develop. Here is a closer view of the cut and fill project. Currently, the artist has the words cut and fill imprinted along the form and translated into different languages spoken by communities that have left or been cut from or filled into this part of Belle Red. And it's good to note that the work is as much about acknowledgement of the past as it is about wanting to represent the tremendous change that Belle Red has gone through. As part of the concept development, the artist has started meeting with representatives from diverse communities that have experienced some of these changes and have deep connections to Bellevue, either current or in the past. This is Jesse.
Thank you, Scott. Members of council, as you've heard tonight, there's quite a bit going on in the arts and culture program here in Bellevue. And we wanted to make sure we talked about what comes next, the road ahead as we work on the arts district, providing more cultural programming, making public art more available, all of the pieces that Scott has mentioned. There are reasons for excitement and some reasons why we'll have to lean on our partners going forward. So there is growing demand for arts and culture options here in Bellevue and on the east side more broadly. That's great. That means that our residents are looking for arts and culture access, for multicultural opportunities, and that our visitors and workers are also looking to engage with the creative side of Bellevue, which is right where we want to be. But as we look at the next few years, there are some issues that will be straining our arts and culture community, in particular inflation risks and redevelopment. As places like Belle Red and downtown continue to redevelop, we are seeing the loss of some of our more affordable spaces for our arts and culture organizations. And as with all groups here in the Puget Sound region, the increasing costs of labor and materials and space is definitely a strain on some of our smaller organizations' budgets. Next slide, Scott. Thank you. And as we look at the demand within the community for support and engagement, we have seen a 20% increase in applications for our annual arts grants. Those are the ones that the council approves every December. That has come with an increase in the request for dollars as those applications have increased. This does mean the average award is decreasing as we try to service more organizations and provide support. And as Scott mentioned, we are working with the Arts Commission to review our arts grant guidelines and programs to make sure that we are maximizing and providing maximum impact for the public dollars that are being invested in these organizations, and looking for new opportunities to bring private partners to help support arts and culture here in the city as well. Next slide, please. On the public art side, as Scott mentioned, we do have several fantastic pieces that are in production, including the Downtown Park art piece, which will be installed later this year. As we mentioned earlier, the costs of inflation are also impacting our ability to deliver public art on a regular basis. We are seeing price escalations as materials and labor and other fabrication costs increase. As one example, on the right side of the screen, you see a art piece called Raincatchers that is from the Newport Hills neighborhood. When it was installed in 2013, that piece cost us about $75,000 total cost. Trying to do that piece again today would cost about $95,000, about a 25 to 30% increase in costs for the same artwork. So what that means is that we're having challenges producing those neighborhood scale art pieces, those medium scale art pieces, because of they are labor intensive, dollar intensive, and take much longer to produce compared to either the larger pieces like the Downtown Park and the Belle Red pieces that you've seen tonight, which have a more impact on the city's creative brand and the placemaking. And also the other side of the house, the smaller pieces, the pop-up art, the utility box wraps that Scott mentioned will be deployed in Belle Red this year, and things like murals, which are easier to stand up. There's less production time. They are smaller scale and lower cost, somewhere between $1,000 and $20,000 for the typical utility box or mural, depending on size and location. So that does mean that we'll be having to work with our private partners, our nonprofit partners as well, to make sure that we're delivering public art in all parts of the city going forward. So that's work that we are going to be doing with a variety of characters here in the community. Next slide. And it's fortunate that East Hub was here last week, because they are one of the partners that we are looking forward to working with as we work to make sure that the city is investing in public art and art experiences across the board. So working with our external partners is going to be very essential. They can be more flexible. They have access to additional philanthropy and revenue sources and artistry that we here at the city just cannot access on a regular basis. So we are working with longtime pillars like the Bellevue Arts Museum, the Downtown Association, which produces an exciting amount of cultural programming every year, though perhaps not always recognized for that, and working with new groups like East Hub and PACE, and our diverse community organizations like TASVIR and Tabor. Those organizations and many more will be critical as we work to continue deploying and making access to art easy here in Bellevue. And those groups are energized. They are excited for the current maturation cycle happening here in the city, and for all of the new spaces and places and people that are coming to call Bellevue home. So on the staff level, we are working to support capacity building at all of those organizations, and working to help make sure the ecosystem is aligned so that the community is we are meeting the community's needs, that new spaces are coming online, and that the ecosystem as a whole is functioning as efficiently as possible for the needs that are out there. Next slide. Back to you, Scott.
Okay. So to wrap up, we'll go over what's next. We will be bringing both the 130th Streetscape artwork and the 121st and Spring Boulevard artwork fabrication contracts to council later this year. Bellwether, we are excited to say, is set to open in September for in-person events, fingers crossed, and could really be one of the first events since the start of the pandemic, first larger events since the start of the pandemic. So we could be well positioned to fill quite a need that's out in the community. And then we are also continuing to work on our public-private partnerships, as Jesse talked about. That's an area of huge focus for the program, and it will continue to be. And then we're working to activate the Bel-Red Arts District with a number of different projects, only some of which you had heard about tonight. So that concludes, and we welcome any comments or questions. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you for that presentation. I am going to open this up for comments or questions, and I'll start with Councilmember Stokes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It's been my honor and privilege to be liaison to the Arts Commission for some time, and it's great to actually hear the progress that's taken place and what we're working on now. The Bel-Red Arts District, I remember one of the first meetings I went to was out in the new Bellevue Brewery at the time, had a big space, and we did a lot of work, and people came in and talked about what we can do in this district. And it's gone through a lot of things since then, as Scott has mentioned, but in this area and other areas, things are coming together. And again, it's part of this, the really growth of Bellevue, its expansion in many areas, and the arts and culture programs are increasing. And as Scott said, I think it's kind of one of the little secrets of Bellevue is that we actually have a lot more going on here than people think. And that's something we're working on, getting out and letting people know. And the issue of affordable housing for our art spaces for artists has been around for a long time. So again, we're addressing, and that's part of the things we're doing in affordable housing and getting people in here and increasing this and working on, increasing the grants programs and I'll cut it short because there's a lot to say on this, but I'm really excited about what we have in front of us. And I think we're we're actually working on a lot of things that have been around for some time, a lot of new things that are going on, and we're thinking about, things for the future that we probably haven't even, started working on, but we know they're out there. So the opportunities and the great things for Bellevue and arts and the culture are just, I think, kind of unlimited. I do want to say that I'm really missing Scott leaving. Scott has come in and, we've gone through some changes in the staffing there over the last several years. And Scott came in and was the staff person and then became, the one helping with the person who was in charge. And then he became that person. And he's just done an amazing job. And I've really been pleased to see his, he just took that opportunity and I think has really worked with us to increase and working with Jesse, and I appreciate Jesse's involvement in this as well, to really increase the arts program in Bellevue. And he's leaving a great legacy here. And I told him I'd be glad to give him an endorsement anytime he wants to another job, because he just does a great job and I really appreciate it. And I think we're on a good track, and this ties in with all the other stuff we're doing. I think there's great things ahead of us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Barksdale.
Thank you, Mayor. First, Scott, just want to say, I think I remember the first time we met was during the Bellwether event, and there was one of the focus group conversations. And I really appreciated that event, and just wanted to say thank you for all of your contributions to the city. Yeah. Sort of carrying over into the briefing, have a deep appreciation for the arts, as I mentioned before, just in terms of the cultural expression and the sense of community. Quick questions, in terms of outdoor play, I saw Kids Quest as a partner. Any thoughts about how we could bring play to Bellevue? I know there was an idea of having sort of Simon Says, sort of a public version of Simon Says out before. Just curious if there was something coming up in the future in that sense. And then secondly, so as a liaison to the Special Events Committee, we're in the process of updating the Special Events Code and the related manuals and such. Is there anything that should be considered there to help make it easier for, allowing festivals and events and such? Those are my two main questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I can address the first question and then maybe ask Jesse to respond to your second question. For the first question, we're always looking for ways to play. I don't know if you remembered Bellwether or were able to attend Bellwether last year, where we had a marching band go from City Hall over to Mid-Mara Center. And it was just really a fantastic moment to see people playing music in the streets. I think right now, there is a great program that's happening right now out in the streets. It's being run by PACE. It's great to see them get out of the kind of metaphysical future planning mode and actually get onto the streets. And they have a busker-like program that's happening right now across Bellevue and also in Redmond called Arts Without Barriers. For Bellwether this year, we have a bunch of art experiences that are going to be outdoors. We'll have more to come on that at our next update, presumably, or maybe at that point it'll be a debrief. But yeah, we're always looking for ways to play, always looking for ways to engage the community directly. Absolutely. Jesse.
Yes, and I'd add that in addition to PACE, East Hub, the BDA, many groups are looking for different opportunities to bring additional experiences to the community, it's really an exciting time from that perspective. In terms of the special events codes and how to make that easier, we are working with the park staff. There's some overlap. I think just a quick note is a lot of it is just clarifying from a user experience to make sure people understand what is and isn't allowable will go a long way. But we're working with the park staff to help make sure that we're getting that clear and make it as user-friendly as possible.
All right, thank you.
All right, anybody else want to comment or have questions? Council members on, and then followed by Deputy Mayor Newman-House.
I think Deputy Mayor had his hand up for quite some time, so I'll yield.
Okay, well, everybody's gonna get a chance, but go ahead, Deputy Mayor. Oh, you're muted, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Council members on, go ahead. It's fine. I was using the virtual function again, so I'm not sure the mayor notices that as often as the hand, but go ahead, council members on. I can go after you, no problem.
And not only do I not notice it, I can't even see it on my screen. So I think you have to do a visual.
Sometimes technology works and sometimes not so much. So Scott, I too appreciate all of the work you do, because arts is what makes a city, you know, pop and just have a vibrancy. So I really appreciate all of the work over the years. The artist space and the affordable housing for artists, I know that we've been working on that for quite some time. And if there's anything we can do to speed that up, Jesse, I think that that'll be a really important piece of this. I love the interactive art, the idea that art is play. Can we do more pop-ups? As you talked about marching bands, you know, working with Bellevue College or school district, other groups that are in the city to be able to just do, you know, pop-up music. I know that we had the Bellevue Youth Symphony Orchestra. They were playing at Bellevue Botanical Garden, where they were throughout the garden. So the idea of, could we do that at more parks? So those are some things that I think would be really helpful. I appreciate the community engagement, because I've also thought about the fact that while it's nice to have maybe some bigger names artists, it seems to me we have some very talented young people in our community, as well as ones that have been here for a long time. So is there a way to even engage and have more of that pop-up art from the people that live right here in our city? So I'd like to see more of that. And then I guess for me, a little more understanding of when we say Bel-Red Art District activation, what does that mean? Because I understand about Bellwether, we've had that for a couple of years. It's not as clear to me when we say Bel-Red Art District activation, what's being envisioned and who are the partners?
To your first point about pop-up, more activities like that, and can we connect the local community into that? This is a great moment for me to promote a effort we recently launched called the Eastside Artist Roster. This is a roster that's open to all artists or individuals that call themselves an artist on the east side, from Mercer Island to the east. You need to be a resident from those communities to be on it. And the Utility Box Wraps out in Bel-Red is the first example of a project that was open only to folks that were on the Eastside Artist roster. And we want to develop more opportunities for that roster specifically, because I think it is a really good conduit, and it's also a good message to tell our Eastside artists that they are important and that we want to see their art in our public places. The question about activation, I think that's broadly a general term. It encompasses a lot of things. It could be activating development through land use code incentive system. It could be actually going out and developing public programs, or say a street festival or a music event out in Bel-Red. So it's a lot of different mechanisms for getting there, for establishing the Bel-Red Arts District, but we're working in a lot of different ways. And I think that's the best way to put it.
Maybe a huge chalk art festival.
Yeah. We have a lot of concrete out there. It could be.
There we go. People can come out for a day when we all come out of COVID, and let's have huge chalk art festival. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? I'm gonna, okay, Councilmember Lee, go ahead. Oh, sorry, no, it's Deputy Mayor Nieuwenhouse's turn.
Thank you. I thought I was going to get passed over. No, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. I'll be brief. I do want to go on the record that we need to bring back the marching band. That's very cool. I'd love to see that happen again, or even make that an annual event. So I know Councilmember Barksdale would agree with that for sure. But two quick questions for you. The survey that you mentioned in terms of Bel Red and making that a regional destination for the arts, and that survey, can you just touch briefly on what the outreach looks like, or if someone hasn't engaged on this topic previously, how can they engage now if they're watching tonight or watching this later on demand on YouTube or on the city site? How can they engage and be a part of that process?
Sure. It's also, this is an example of having too much work to try to fit into one council presentation. We just completed a Bel Red Arts District engagement report, which surveyed over 200 businesses, stakeholders, community members out in Bel Red to get their feedback on the Bel Red Arts District. So that's going to lay the groundwork for the next steps, which is really getting to develop that action plan. So there will be a lot of public outreach with that action plan. So that's the first thing. Okay. The second thing is the Arts Market Survey, which is a separate project really from, although it's highly tied to the Bel Red Arts District, but it's that initiative will be a separate survey that will, a big part of the scope is marketing the outreach out to the community. So that would be another opportunity. And the best way to stay connected is to get onto our site, subscribe, and follow us on social media, because that's one of the best ways, honestly, to find out what's happening. It's also a good opportunity if artists or organizations are looking for funding, because we do post a lot of funding resources that come up in the region, not just from Bellevue on that.
Indeed. And then my second question is just on the on Bellwether there, and you had mentioned multiple times about helping it grow, and it's so exciting the fact that it could be an actual in-person event later this year. Can you just touch on a couple of specifics in terms of how we're helping that grow this year?
Yeah. Two things. We've really taken 2 years of Bellwether, since we didn't have one last year, but we were planning to have one at the early part of 2020. And we've combined it into the 2021. So there's going to be a lot of art in terms of just visual art. There's going to be a lot of art. We've added a digital art gallery for this year. So there's 10 artists that are working in the digital medium. There's going to be a couple artworks that have a play component that will be responsive to movement and should be interesting and fun. And that one in particular is by a Bellevue artist that lives downtown. So it'd be great to see a local artist. And then also growing, we're talking with East Hub about efforts to create some kind of multi-day musical festival as within the festival. And there's a lot to figure that out. It's still really early days on those discussions, but the idea is that their scope would include not only producing and managing mostly East Side focused musical event, but also increasing marketing for the broader show, and doing some sponsorship development as well for Bellwether.
Terrific. Well, thanks, Scott, and thanks for the presentation. Yep. And best of luck to you as you leave the halls of City Hall here for another opportunity in your career. But best of luck, and again, thank you for your service to the city.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lee.
Thank you. Oh, no, I'm really hurt. You know who's Deputy Mayor's favorite. He allowed Janice to get ahead of him, not me. So thanks. Anyway, Oh, thanks. Great, Scott. Art is really the soul of a city, right? I mean, that's where the challenge is. Bellevue is so new and so multifaceted, and we have lots of new demographics. United States itself, it's got lots of culture anyway to begin with. So it's really challenging, right? We don't also have the kind of history that some people have, right? So we're always trying to identify what is the soul of the city. So you are in the right place, and so it's always the most challenging thing. When the economic is good, you are okay. When the economy gets tough, you're the first to be cut, right? To be a victim. So I think you have done a great job. The one thing that I really, by listening, is the Bel-Ray corridor. It's a plan, right? It's a 25-year plan. There's art district. It's a great opportunity. But is it going to be just sitting on the desk gathering dust, or is it going to actually be happening? And from what you just described, what you have planned, I think we need to make sure that we pay attention. I hope when you even though you're not here, we have learned that we got to have a plan. We got to have action. We got to have things going on. It's never too soon to start it, right? So I think what you're doing is good. You're introducing, identifying the amenities and the things that attract people, the people who live there, the younger folks, and that you identify people who are attracted to various different music, arts, and so on and so on. I think that's really good. Identifying them, encouraging them, building resources that can actually build on. So it's good. It's very far-sighted. I appreciate that piece. So my question was, where are you going? Sounds like everybody's going to miss you. So where are you going?
Well, you don't have to answer that publicly if you don't want to.
But just
send an email.
Okay. Well, yeah, I really think that's good. Well, we appreciate that piece. What we need is like the Deputy Mayor said, we need the music man to bring in town. Marching down Bel-Ray corridor all the way into Grand Connection into downtown Bellevue. That would be amazing. Huh? So the point, I think, I really like what you mentioned. We have a lot of local talents, a lot of local people because of the people coming to this region, to the United States. I mean, one thing I know for sure, I go to lots of events, the East Indians. They have so many groups, so many rich, different cultures. Starting with young people, they train them, they learn them, they're proud of their culture, and they're serious about it, and they enjoy it. It carries on their culture tradition. So I think these are the things we all can learn, not just because we learn the culture, but they're really good, honestly. And the cream of the crop, no matter in what area, especially in arts, they come to the United States, they come to Bellevue. And when they're here, unfortunately, because of various barriers, people don't know them. They don't know how to express themselves. Language is a problem. Their custom is the problem. They don't know how to connect is a problem. And people look at them, don't understand it, don't pay attention, don't understand it. It's a problem. So they're really very much wasted. But we're not realizing how much talent we have here. So what you have to identify with this capacity building you're talking about, really it's very meaningful. I hope we don't forget it. This is something that will bring the people together, bring people from all different cultures together, because music is the soul. They connect people. They find out they are pretty much connected, the same. Okay, so I really think that, Jesse, that's something our staff can be really mindful. And so don't let, Scott, don't let that plan to go on the shelf and gather dust. Let's keep it going. Thank you. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just say I've got a few comments. I'll try to be quick. I really appreciate that arts and culture fall under our economic development plan. That's exactly where it should be. And it just warms my heart to see it front and center there. I love the 130th and 121st streetscape projects. Those are amazing. I can't believe we get to have our own like Chicago bean style sculpture in the Bel-Ray. That's going to be amazing. And let's see. What was I going to say? Sorry. Oh, the utility box wrap. Scott, I will always think of you of that. That's a perfect marrying of utilities and art. Those are great. So I really feel like we need to do that emphasis on public-private partnership and get more funding for the arts. It's really sad to see our arts grants having to go down, down, down as more artists are available, and yet we don't have the fundings to keep up with it, the demand and the desire for more arts in our community. So hope that we can really sit down and think about how can we increase the amount of funding for our arts, because if nothing else, COVID really underscored the importance of the arts to our souls and keeping us inspired and connected and just grounding us as a community. So I think it's really important as the city grows to emphasize that even more. So I hope we do get to have a conversation on the options for increasing our funding for the arts. So that is all I have to say. And I think Councilmember Robertson is the only one who hasn't spoken, and she doesn't need to speak. So we're good. So we have regional issues, and we do not have a presentation. It's all in the packet, but if you have any comments or questions right now, you may ask them. I believe that Joyce is probably on hand to answer any questions or give you any information you might need. So I'm looking at everybody. I'm not seeing any questions or comments, so that's good. That is the end of our meeting. So we will adjourn, and council, if you will check your email calendars, we will see you later. Okay, thank you. Meeting adjourned. Good night.